Welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast, where we help you move, excel, and inspire others on your journey to your next level with knowledge and advice from experts and testimonials from our like-minded community. On our success story today, I have Koichi Wata, who has been a patient here, but not only that, he has become a very integral part of our triathlon community up in the Wycliffe Lake office in New Jersey. Koichi's story is interesting because he went from being an avid runner to now becoming an Ironman triathlete just by being a part of our community. And we have a contagious community of triathletes here. People who want to continue pushing the bar even as we get into our 30s, 40s, 50s, and even beyond. And so I hope that you'll see the value that we talk about of having the right community of like-minded people who want to keep pushing hard even as we get older, but also having the confidence to know that you have people who have your back in your physical therapy, as well as a community of people who are going to push you and keep you accountable to the goals that you have. So hope you enjoy this episode. Koichi, I'm so excited to have you on our success story as someone who has been through our system through physical therapy, and then seeing you transform into this amazing triathlete. That journey, and especially with somebody without an athletic background per se, growing up in sports, but seeing you just actually kill it. And there are stories of you being an incredible triathlete out there and how you can grind in the swim, the bike, and the run. So it's really cool to see someone like yourself going from a non-athletic background, having gotten some injuries along the way, but also now becoming this guy who is crushing it.
Thank you, Jerry. So yeah, great to see you again.
Yeah.
Love that dinner that we had in North Carolina.
Oh, that was great.
Really fantastic.
It was awesome. Yeah. For anyone who likes sushi and sushi in Cary, highly recommended.
Yeah. So thanks for the intro. So I have done certain races, more running in nature, 5Ks in the beginning. I did some track at high school and the field part, like javelin and shot put.
Oh, you did?
I did,
Okay,
but not that great. And so, 5Ks, half marathons, a marathon or two, including the Philly Marathon in the early 2000s. And that was very painful, I just remember, because I didn't have all this other training, formal training. I didn't think about nutrition. I didn't bring any kind of gels or nutrition with me. I just thought I should just drink water.
Yeah.
And naturally with the marathon, it just conked out at 18 miles, walked a little bit until these two ladies walked up and said, "Let's go."
You just let it loose.
And then completed the thing in like 4.5 hours. But yeah, what a big difference now working with Coach Greg and you and others, and then especially others, my friends at Next Level, not even just at Next Level, but the whole community is great. And that's what is really important to me, to have friends to encourage myself to learn from, and then just really see what they can do to say, oh no, I need to wake up today and do my workout and not just sleep in. So they are just my motivators.
Yeah.
Not just before training, but even during and afterwards. So really thankful for that.
Yeah. The community aspect is something that we have found to be foundationally important for not only our business, but also for the people that we serve locally. And our desire has always been to level up the level of impact that we can have in the community locally. And for us, I think the best way to do that is through physical activity. Whether it's running, triathlon, now we're looking into doing some high rocks competitions next year, Spartan races we've done in the past too. So all these things really unite people in a way that transcends whatever differences you might have between people into, let's just get this done. Let's suffer together. Let's sweat together.
Right. And I think that's the whole thing, just around, it's suffering, but it's a fun suffering.
Yeah, it
at
is.
the end, you look back and it's like, holy cow, I did that. I did that with the team and my friends and the family were able to see that too. So, and that mental aspect of it is so important. You can muscle up or train as much as you want, but then if you just don't have that mental grit, then you're not going to make it. Or every single event or every single workout would just be so much more difficult, and it doesn't have to be.
Definitely. I love that. Now let's backtrack for a second and let's talk about what actually got you to Next Level Physio in the first place, Koichi.
Yeah. So other than the 5Ks and the marathon-ish type of events, we're doing lots of mud type of events as well, Spartan races.
Yeah.
And even for them, I remember doing lots of road running, but not even lots of hills or obstacle training. And I thought with two of my buddies who I did it with,
Yeah.
that would be good enough. Or that's like, I'm not a professional, or I don't need to have gels. Those are for professional.
That's really
And
funny.
so, yeah, ultimately, I met up with
Yeah.
James and our wives knew each other somewhat. And then I thought, like, oh, we should all get together. I remember we started to do a few of those Spartan races. And then ultimately, I had an issue with my right IT band
Yeah.
and it just came about and didn't know why. And he suggested that I go to the next level. And then I believe it was Dr. Pam who treated
Oh,
me
Pam. Yeah. Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she knew exactly what to look for.
Yeah.
I had some therapies applied, and then things got better. And then again, with the Spartan races and how I was running, how I was not quite conscious of exactly how I should be running,
Mm.
resulted in a little bit more IT band issues. So it went away and then came back.
Mm.
And then I think that's where I met with you,
Yes.
and you just did a simple diagnostic after that and found that my legs were just a little bit too close together, and
Yeah.
probably because of the trails, the single
That's a great
file
point.
trails,
Yeah.
that I was running like closer together. So I just knew, all right, let me just open up my stance. And that's what fixed things
Mm.
ultimately.
Yeah.
So really appreciative of Dr. Pam. And then ultimately with the second diagnosis too, just like, all right, what else am I need to do in terms of my style, running style? And every single time I'm on a trail or in an event where I feel something, I just know, oh, look, I'm just subconsciously running closer with my legs together. I need to
Yeah.
open them up. And then it fixes it almost in minutes. It just goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, really incredible. So,
That's really good that you mentioned that, Koichi, because I would say that maybe, I don't know statistically how true it is, but I would say in our experience that 80 to 90% of the running injuries that we see are a result of the running form issue. And it's a simple fix sometimes, but you have these guys who are running 100 miles a week training for ultra races. And if you're running with that narrow base of support where you're landing on sort of a narrow stance, you're going to be putting a lot of stress on those hips. And if I would say by and large, most of the runners that we treat don't have great use of the hip extensors, which are the glutes and stuff like that. They don't have great control of their limbs in space. As a result, they're ending up with these issues like IT band issues, like meniscus issues, like gluteal tendinopathy issues, we call them, where basically overuse, where because they're not accessing the right form technique, they're relying on other muscles to do the job of what those other muscles are being injured are doing for them.
yeah, yeah. And even during the workouts on the roads, I will consciously make sure that I switch sides of the road.
Mm.
So because they're graded, right? So
The camber is a killer.
exactly.
Yes.
So I am going through a recovery for plantar fasciitis, and one
Yes.
of the treatments, so to speak, is to see if I can run on the left side of the road where the gradation
Yep.
is on my left side.
Yes. So your
So
foot's in a better position.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So it seems to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's funny because camber is a question that I often ask in a running analysis, like what side of the road do you normally run on? And by and large, I would say people, because of safety, they'll run on the opposite side of the street, but they're always exposing that stress to the one foot each and every time. Right. So once you change things up like you just did intuitively, that actually does a big job as far as fixing certain things too.
Yeah, yeah. So that variation is really important. Just like for triathlon, doing a swim and bike and run, or I remember last year with Dr. Greg, and I just had, I think it's something with my right leg, and I had an injury there, and he said, let's lean off of the run for now, focus more on the swim and bike, maintain that fitness in preparation for the Philly Marathon.
Yeah.
And it was just perfect. I just did more of that and still had the fitness there, and then got back into the run portion of the workouts, and then just like, great.
Yeah.
Did my best time. Oh, what, 3:34?
Damn.
And it was just
Holy.
like, it was a great day because it's nice and cold.
Yes. I love that you brought up how, and this is what I love most about triathlon and why I did it for so many years,
is that number one, it's hard to get bored when you're always rotating through 3 different sports.
Right.
Number two, if you have an injury in one, you can still do the other two, which is
Yes.
so cool. So you
It's
have these
amazing.
options. Whereas some people who just do running, for example, maybe they'll do strength training, which is always a good option, but they might not have other options for themselves like you and I do as triathletes. Obviously, you can go on the rower and other ways of doing cardio too, like the air bike. But something like triathlon where that sport you can rotate through, I think is what I love about it most.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, because I have more of a technical professional, I do like the technical aspects of
Mm,
all three sports,
yes.
especially with the Coach Greg and just him. I remember initially when I was learning how to do laps in the pool,
Yeah.
that like don't muscle it. That's not what is going to make you faster. It's
Yeah.
the technique.
Definitely.
And then it always comes back to that.
Yeah.
My last lake swim, I said, all right, I'm going to focus only on technique now and not speed. Because
Yeah.
one of the things I learned the swim before that, the week before, is I always thought, oh, the first lap, I'm going to go fast. The second lap, I'll work on more technique. And then third lap, I'll work on my speed again.
Yeah.
And every single time I would try to go faster, I went slower. And then
Funny.
the laps where I focused on my technique, I
Yeah.
went fast. It's just,
That's a real life lesson, right?
yeah, that's where experience
Yeah.
from Greg, and he just can tell me like, don't make these mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've worked with Greg too and helping me to get my swimming better as well. And number one, obviously I love the team Next Level Tri Club, but I love that we have the right coaches with us. Greg, Marilyn, Rich, and James is actually not coaching my running right now. And it's been so great to not have to worry about my own programming, but also know that we have experts in our club who can actually take us to our quote unquote next level because they are focusing on that. And I just have to do what they tell me to do. They're looking at my numbers and saying, you got to do this,
Yes.
which is great. I don't have to think about that. And I can trust that they have my best interest in mind.
Right. Right. And even during workouts and sometimes during events, I remember Rich would just say, keep your head up and your shoulders down. Okay. So it's
Hilarious.
constant training and
Yeah.
technique. So it's just, yeah,
That's
that's the great
great.
part. Just that friendship and trust is there.
That's been huge. Yeah. So then now you went through our Next Level Physio. As far as your experience working with with our team at Next Level, what was it like for you?
So it wasn't really just, so Next Level team as in our triathlon
Oh,
team.
Next
or-
Level actually Physio.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. So yeah, very friendly. And I could just tell the first time I was here, a sort of sense of like, there's a funness about it. So lots of smiling. It wasn't a stuffy doctor's office. And people just knew each other enough that they could even joke around a little bit here and there. And
Yeah.
then there was still some friendly competition because I believe there was some kind of some gaming system where they had,
Oh, in between in our office?
yeah, it was
Yes.
showing on the
Pull-ups or
TV.
push-ups, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
There was something on the screen where they
Yeah.
were able to compete.
Yes, we're very competitive that way.
But yeah, I remember with Dr. Alex and others and Dr. Pam, they were just like here to help, here to learn, and then here to not just get me back into regular walking without pain, but get into a better shape.
Yeah.
And so they had done many types of, whether it's running or other kind of athletic events. So they had that experience too, which is great versus a generic physician. Like he or she may not be doing these things. They may not be familiar with the types of injuries and causes. So they might see a lab result that's like, whoa, this is very different, where it might be more normal for somebody who's training hard.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's funny. And you said something that really piqued my thoughts here, where I think because we are clinicians who also compete and we also live a really active lifestyle, which is actually part of our core values, that is, I think, what gives us that drive, motivation, and curiosity to help our clients get to their best version of themselves.
Yes.
And it's not just, it's like, oh, we could just treat our T-band and get you back to running. But it's like, Koichi, I want you to like freaking kill it at the next race. I'm not going to be happy with you just saying, oh, I made it through the race. I want to hear you say, I did not think that I could get to this level before, thanks to you guys. That's for me is the biggest compliment.
Right. Right. Yeah. I love that. And then once you see them afterwards and they're just like, high five, way
Yeah.
to go. They're watching too.
Yes, they're
So-
following you, right? On
right.
the app, on the Ironman.
Right.
That's awesome.
So it's like everyone's got your back here and they have that vested interest in really making you not just well, but even better than you were before you walked in.
That's great. And what's cool about you, Koichi, is you went from doing stuff on your own, then you came through our physical therapy system, and you've had some great benefit there. And I think a lot of what you said is exactly what people describe us. Oh, they're really friendly, but they're really serious about getting you back to what you want to get to. And yeah, you may be paying out of pocket, but you are going to get the results you're looking for. And then from there, you actually went to our third phase, which is getting into our triathlon club. And that has been a growing thing for us as a, not side business, but more of a progression or an ascension for our patients to go from where they're doing stuff, but then now they're actually raising the bar for themselves by doing the triathlon club.
Right. So I remember, I think even before I formally came here for treatment, I was doing some bike workouts. Not workouts, it's just biking at Harriman State Park.
Yes.
And
I love Harriman.
yeah, I remember the first times it was on my hybrid bike, and I could not keep up on the hills. I'm just like, oh, how are they able to do this? Because I used to bike a lot in high school.
Oh, you
It's on my
did? Oh, yeah.
Panasonic steel
Oh my gosh.
bike that
Yeah.
was, I love that bike.
Yeah.
I remember hills, and I remember thinking like, oh, my challenge is to always use the lowest gear, meaning the smallest cog in the back,
Yeah.
and just try to make it up those hills.
Yeah.
But those hills at Harriman are tough. And
Very
then
tough.
I was overhearing conversations about Atlantic City.
Oh, the Tri.
The Tri,
Yeah.
right. And it's like, oh, what is this thing? This
So your curiosity got piqued.
right.
Yeah.
This triathlon thing that people are trying to really do well on. And like, all right, like, I don't know if I'm not a good swimmer at all, even though I grew up with a pool.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought like, or maybe I should learn. I'm curious if I can just complete a bike. I can complete a run, but never have I done them, together.
Yeah.
And then the swim part was just like, oh, I need to learn this. And I remember so I think it was initially just by myself, just thinking, oh, how do I do this? Let me watch some videos and then I was at Lifetime Fitness and just doing it by myself. And my former boss, president of one of the companies I was working for at the time, he was a college swimmer.
Oh.
So he showed me some videos and he showed me like, all right, what good looks like. And I remember starting in December of 2021, just every week, once or twice per week, just going to the pool. I could barely make it a quarter of a lap in the beginning. A quarter of a lap of a 25-yard length pool. And then, all right, halfway, and then all the way. And then eventually just being able to go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I knew my technique wasn't great at all, and it still needs lots of improvement, but I was able to do it ultimately to the point where in February, my boss said, as a formal ceremony that they have for his team, for your birthday, you need to do the number of years times 100 yards, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I did at the time 100 more, but 5,200 yards in a pool, which I would say I wouldn't do that today. But for some reason, I thought I need to show my boss I could do it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And then from then on, I knew if I could do more than 5,000 yards in a pool, I should try something in the lake. So I think I was able to get 1 or 2 times in the Crystal Lake that we have nearby.
Right.
And then I signed up for the 2-mile lap the lake Indian
Lakes.
Trail Club.
Yes.
event.
Yeah.
And I thought like, all right, 2 miles is less than 5,000
You got this.
5,000 yards.
Yeah.
And I thought like, all right, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And the first time ever, I was in the back of the pack and I was talking with Coach Greg. Just like, all right, how should I do this? And then just take it really easy. And I thought like, all right, let me get in the water, warm up. And I'm not going to freeze up this time in the beginning like I normally did at the lake. And yet I did do that. So I was at the back. After I passed these 2 buoys, I stopped thinking like, oh, I'm going to drown here. I'm just wait here. And I saw the canoes coming in.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm all right. And then from there, I just like, all right, let me just get into the groove and do this 2 laps. And I was able to finish. I was able to pass a few people, but certainly at the bottom of the finishers, but I finished it, and I
Yeah.
thought like that was a big
And
accomplishment.
that was your first open water race.
Yeah, first ever open water swim type of event.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just felt like, well, that was a big accomplishment. It was a little
Huge.
scary.
Yeah.
And I remember Greg and Rich, who was also in there, they were pointing out or how to sight, not just look at the buoys, but look at the big things like that big tree, that
Yeah.
humongous tree towards the beach.
Yeah.
Look for that. It's like, oh, okay. And that's what I did. And I remember I saw people go off to the right and to the
Right.
left, and I was just watching for that tree.
Yeah.
I was like, those are amazing techniques that it's like, unless you have somebody there who's done it,
Yeah.
you
You're
just
not gonna.
wouldn't know
Yeah.
to look for these things. And I was just grateful for that.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because Koichi, you could have just done the half-mile swim.
I know.
You could have done the 1.2, but you went like head first, never done any kind of open water swimming and went for 2.4. Like, and that's a long distance. I've done that one too. And I'll tell you, I think that's what I really value about you. And actually a lot of our clients who come in who are as intense as you were, they're like, I'm not just going to like pussyfoot this. I'm just going to like go all in and do what I can. But that drive and motivation is why we love to do what we do at Next Level, because it's people like you, Koichi, where we want this guy to like friggin' crush it because he's an animal and we just want to make sure he can stay as an animal for the rest of his life.
I don't know if I think of myself as an animal, but I just
I've
like
been
to
told that you're an animal, so I can tell you other people say that you're an animal or savage. So
I just like to raise the bar. Like even for a run, I remember it must have been like 2021-ish or 2000. James and I were doing lots of trail runs with Mo and a few other folks on a regular basis, even during the winter. And I was saying, one day we're going to do a 50K trail run. And then like, folks are like, I don't know if we're going to do 31, 32 miles. And I thought, like, I want to do that as for fun,
Yeah.
not for a great time, but
yeah,
just
to
to
get
have
through
fun.
it. Yeah.
And like, and this has been my mistake in the past where I thought like I can just do it. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
I was thinking like I just need to experience it. So it's not going to be great, but at least I'll know I'll be able to finish it and then have that bar there that I can go to
Yeah.
again. And so one day on my regular alpine trail run,
Yeah.
that is normally about 6 miles, I said, all right, today feels like a good day.
Yeah.
I did pack up a little bit more in terms of gels. And then I decided, all right, let me just go a little bit farther south towards the George Washington Bridge. And then,
So you just did it.
right. So
Wow.
just did it. And yeah, and then just did it. And then ultimately, yeah, I had to walk a little bit towards the end, but just finish that, just get it under the belt so that
Funny.
it's just from there, it's going to be easier.
I love how you set the bar for yourself and you continue to raise that bar, because that is the essence of Next Level. Like, because once you hit your quote unquote next level, there's always room to continue growing. So it's never ending. It's perpetual.
Yeah. I remember James has started to talk about when we did the Bear Mountain 50K together
Yeah.
with James and also Melissa. James is starting to talk about a 50-miler. It's like, a 31 was good. I thought that was a good high bar.
Yeah.
50 miles. Yeah. Let's
50K, 50 miles, very different.
right. Let's talk about that, because I believe at the time Paula was doing her 100-mile events,
Yeah.
which is a little crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 50 miles, I thought we could do it, but that's going to take up more training.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yeah, James is starting to convince me like 50 miles is doable.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Well,
Especially after the Ironman.
Yeah, but what's great also, Koichi, is that you had the confidence to do these harder things and you had like that drive to do them. But I think you also knew that you could do these because your knee was feeling better, you're at T-bend, you felt physically like ready to do these things and not worried about, well, I don't know how
Right.
to, uncertain about being able to do those physically.
Right. Or when something happens that I have the backing of the
Yeah.
Next Level family to
Right.
help me. So that before if I just injure something, I would just ease back a little bit and stop and not really treat it
Yeah.
other than stretching.
Yeah.
But now I know I have active therapies and I know people who are experts who can help me.
Yeah.
So that helps yeah, it relieves me and helps me to just push
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
and not just be careful about everything.
Yeah. And I think that's what sucks about a lot of our clients when they come in, because they've maybe tried to DIY it. Oh, I watched some YouTube videos, do some like mobility stuff and whatnot. And that might work for like 30% of the people out there that we see. But then you have people who have very chronic conditions and they're not getting much better. They try traditional PT. They're doing the shake and bake method of just whatever hot pack, cold pack stuff. And then they go through life and just miserable. And then once they come in and we present them with other options and solutions and finding that root cause, for them, it's like this light bulb goes off where number one, like, oh, I should have done this sooner, number one. But number two, I never saw rehab going in this way where they're not just trying to get me better for everyday life, but they want me to get back to those setting those higher standards.
Right, right. Because they
No.
either they have treated athletes or they are athletes themselves.
Yeah.
They know. And yeah, and it doesn't have to be with all the advanced tooling and equipment. And some of the treatments were like that. But I remember I used to have this thing with my left foot where with the swims, I would push off occasionally the wall and then I would just get these tinges of cramps coming on. Couldn't figure out what exactly was happening, but ultimately I went to see Dr. Alex and he was just thinking like, he just needs to like massage out the tendons, find the right ones. And I remember thinking for me, I was trying to do that and I thought like, oh, I'm going to cause a cramp. And Dr. Alex just knew like, just bear with me.
Trust
Right.
the process.
And so he kept
Right.
going. I'm thinking, oh no, this is going to crap. And then he just really just got it all out. And then it was just so much better.
Yeah.
So much better. And it's so weird because I was just so fearful. Don't touch that area because it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And then for him, he just like went all
right into because the clinical confidence really matters.
right. And that's the thing that you could watch YouTube videos and anecdotally hear about treatments, but then you've got the people who've done it.
Yeah.
They know what's real, what's not real.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So now, Koichi, you've gone through this whole route of running now the ultra races, and you did Chattanooga, the Ironman recently. How was that experience, and how did you hold up physically?
Good. So the way that Coach Greg and others, they set us up is that, look, you're basically doing it. And that's how I like to think about it too. It's not the first time I'm going to do the full thing. That in certain ways, like we'll do the marathons or close to it, we'll do close to, or the full bike and certainly the swim parts. And then we just had to put together using bricks and other methods. And just by doing several half Ironmans and marathons and other events, it was good. It was fun. And the best part is, I remember Rich was talking about the bike workouts. Every weekend it was raining. And so I didn't mind it because like we've done Spartan races. So in the rain and cold.
Yeah.
And that's what we're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Spartans. And so I knew like, all right, there's something happening here. Maybe, he is looking after us. And ultimately that's what happened. And, it's unfortunate for the cause of the rain in Chattanooga and the winds because of Hurricane Helene that, there's lots of devastation and some lives lost, which is unfortunate. But we're thankful because at least I think they made the right call to cancel the swim.
Yeah.
But the bike and runs were still on. So
Yeah.
the drive there together, it was raining.
Yeah.
And then during the whole event, it was
raining.
And
Yeah.
afterwards, it was raining too. But the bike there was lots of rain, but it was okay because we had trained for it.
Yeah.
And so we didn't shy away from it. It's like we didn't say, hey, it's raining. It's going to be too dangerous or whatever. Let's not do it today. We just went for it. Sauce. Oh, and the workouts, right? So
That's great.
yeah. And so that's the great part that without the team there to really push each other, it's like, I could have just slept in. It's like, well, I should just be careful because it's raining. No, it's like, we're going to do this because it can be raining during the event. So that's where it's like, oh, it's more normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you have to be a little bit more careful, but that's part of the technique of like, all right, look, when it's raining, just do this a little differently, brake differently. So that was a great experience. Just, it was raining, but it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, Koichi. So, Koichi, thank you so much for coming on our success story podcast. And it's so great getting to know you as a person as well. And also seeing that people out there are suffering and they have lived an athletic life and they are miserable right now because they can't live that kind of lifestyle anymore. And I'm just hopeful that stories like yours will help to resonate with people listening to this so that they know that there might be a solution they haven't considered before. But also knowing that, like you said, we got your back. We want to make sure that through your entire journey, through our Move, Excel, Inspire process, that you're getting the best care that you can to get back to what you want to do, that we can build the right foundation, and that we can get you back to the things that you love to do at a very high level. And seeing you go through that journey, for me as the founder, CEO, has been really cool because I know that whether it's Dr. Alex, Dr. Nick, or any of our team members, Dr. David, that you're going to get the best care to get you to get to those goals.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for our friendship here
Yeah.
and your staff and your team and basically my friends too. It's like, that's what makes it a different experience versus all the other providers
Yeah.
that we have here. So that whole experience is really key. And that's why I love being here, working with you and others. So it's really a great experience.
That's awesome. So just to close out, what are like 1 or 2 words, maybe 3 words that come to mind when you think about Next Level, number 1? And number 2, if somebody is on the fence about coming to Next Level Physio, and yes, we're not exactly the cheapest game in town, what's something that you would say to help them to understand that this is the right choice for them?
Yeah. Again, fun team. They know what they're doing. They have experienced it and they have treated others. And so it's a whole family. It's a whole ecosystem. And that's how it works well. And then as far as even when it comes to cost, what is that cost compared to not doing what you want to be doing in your life? And so if you're injured early on and you don't get to do the things that you think you should be doing or want to aspire to do, then what is that cost? Is that cost more than what you might pay for treatment? I would say, yeah. It's like, relatively speaking, that cost is very little here for that kind of treatment and then the teamwork and the friendship here versus thinking back in your life that had I known, even for me, had I known about sports therapy, physical therapy, and this whole kind of program, even for me as 52 years old, that I would have done things a little bit earlier. Even triathlons, like I just did not have this concept of like, oh, what is this thing? Yeah, I remember one of my bosses, he said that he swims in a lake and river. It's like, why would you do this thing? Then I remember that was my earliest thought about like, why would you do this? But being exposed to different ideas is always a great thing. Different
100%.
experiences, different perspectives, the whole diversity of the whole staff here, right? They all come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And so that different perspective is important, not just in our like daily lives, but even certainly for work things. So that's what was really very helpful. Like, oh, wow, what is this SOS thing? Right.
It's right to try.
All right. I'm like, all right. Oh, like, and not just like working out or race events. But like, what else do people do to enjoy life together with their families? And it's like that, again, that whole friendship is really important. And you learn so much more than if you try to do it yourself.
Definitely. And I'm glad you touched on that last note where it really comes back to being in that right community for you. And for people out there who might be alone and doing things on their own, know that finding the right community can make all the difference in helping you get to your next level. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yep.
Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. It really does mean a lot to us. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or comment if you got at least 1 or 2 helpful insights or takeaways to help you get to your next level.